month. Visit VWDealer.com today.
Tonight, as we come on the air, tempers flaring over immigration, chaos at the border, protesters screaming "Save the children" as President Trump hits the road. What he's saying tonight. Plus, breaking news. The president's press secretary kicked out of a restaurant. Her father, the former governor, and his controversial tweet. The severe storm strike sweeping across the plains into the mid-Atlantic. At least 7 reported tornadoes ripping through 4 states. Sam Champion on where those damaging winds and blinding rains are headed next. Candidate's car crash. A South Carolina lawmaker severely injured by a wrong-way driver. She just won a big primary. The details now coming in. Growing outrage. The rising protests over the teenager shot dead by police. New images tonight and details we're learning on the frantic attempts to save his life. And break-in blast. Did scavengers set off this devastating house explosion? What investigators are warning tonight.
From ABC News, this is ABC World News Tonight.
And good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. I'm Whit Johnson in for Tom Yamas. We begin tonight with the breaking news, the intensifying chaos over the immigration debate. President Trump hitting the road tonight in Las Vegas, addressing Nevada Republicans, but not specifically mentioning the reversal of his policy of separating parents and children at the Mexican border. This, as we learned, his press secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and 7 family members were asked to leave a Virginia restaurant. The owner claiming the action was on, quote, moral grounds over those children at the border. And now Sarah Sanders' father, former Governor Mike Huckabee, facing major criticism for this tweet, attacking Nancy Pelosi using a controversial image. ABC's Tara Palmieri in Washington starts us off.
Tonight, President Trump at a rally in Las Vegas, lashing out against Democrats for being too soft on immigration.
Because they think immigration is being weak on the border, which is therefore allowing tremendous crime to come into our country. They think that that's a good issue for them. I don't think being weak on the border, being pathetically weak on the border, I don't think that's a good issue.
The president's zero-tolerance policy igniting a brewing backlash against some of his staff. Last night, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders kicked out of this Virginia restaurant while at dinner with family and friends. The owner telling the Washington Post she asked her to leave on moral grounds, including separating immigrant families.
The separation of illegal alien families is the product of the same legal loopholes that Democrats refuse to close.
Today, Sanders tweeting, "Last night I was told by the owner of Red Hen in Lexington, Virginia to leave because I work for POTUS, and I politely left. Her actions say far more about her than about me."
I want a nation to treat every person with dignity and compassion and fairness.
Her father, Mike Huckabee, coming to her defense, tweeting, "Bigotry on the menu at Red Hen Restaurant in Lexington, Virginia. Or you can ask for the hate plate, and appetizers are small plates for small minds." But hours earlier, the former governor posting this tweet saying Nancy Pelosi introduces her campaign committee for the take back of the House. Shame! Shame! Sanders is not the first member of the administration to face public outrage. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen heckled last week at a Mexican restaurant.
If kids don't eat in peace, you don't eat in peace.
You can't do it through an executive order.
Tonight, inside the White House, sources telling ABC News officials are suffering from whiplash, blaming White House aide Stephen Miller for pushing the zero-tolerance policy.
I didn't like the sight or the feeling of families being separated.
And now are left scrambling to implement the executive order stopping the separation of families.
And Tara now joins us from the White House. And Tara, sources are telling you members of Congress may have new legislation to fix an issue with the president's executive order.
Whit, senior White House and Hill officials tell me that if a larger immigration bill fails to pass in the Congress next week, they're preparing a more narrow bill that would allow children to stay with their parents in detention centers for more than 20 days. A vote on that bill could come as early as Tuesday night. Whit?
All right, Tara Palmieri at the White House for us. Thank you. Next to that rising border chaos, the dramatic protests today, demonstrators shouting in a showdown in McAllen, Texas, the whereabouts of some 1,800 children separated from their families under the now rescinded Trump policy still in question tonight. ABC's Marcus Moore is there for us tonight.
Tonight, emotions boiling over on the border. In McAllen, Texas, the epicenter of the crisis, demonstrators blocking a bus full of immigrant children, creating a tense standoff between protesters and police.
Set the children free! Set the children free!
Human rights activists announcing a 24-day fast in support of separated families.
What is the significance of a fast in this situation?
People are sacrificing, they're feeling a little bit of pain, maybe hunger pain, but not the kind of pains that these families are suffering or that these children are feeling.
The Customs and Border Protection Agency says 500 children in its custody have been reunited, but there are still more than 1,800 at other agencies, separated from their parents. Among them, 8-year-old Danny. He's in New York. His mother being detained in El Paso, facing charges after crossing the border illegally. His aunt, Nila Serrano, trying to reunite them.
El Paso Processing Center has not responded. We've already bought the bus ticket, ready to go. She is not even aware that she's not coming home.
The fog of uncertainty fueling frustration and calls for expedited reunions like this one in Baltimore Friday. Others who've been deported, like these families in Honduras, taking solace in seeing their loved ones. While in Texas, buses drop off young mothers and their children at this station daily. They wear ankle monitors as they wait for word on their asylum cases, and a nationwide debate rages on.
And Marcus joins us from Hidalgo near the border tonight. Marcus, a delegation of lawmakers toured a processing center today. They want more transparency to show what's actually going on inside.
Whit, that's right. These lawmakers are still urging government officials to open up these facilities to health professionals so that they can monitor the children's mental health. Meantime, Health and Human Services has formed a task force to work on returning thousands of children to their families. Whit.
All right, Marcus Moore in Hidalgo. Thank you. And more on the national debate over immigration tomorrow on This Week, when George goes one-on-one with Senator Jeff Flake and Representative Luis Gutierrez. Next to severe storms and the threat that funnel cloud in northern Georgia, some 7 reported tornadoes ripping across at least 4 states, damaging winds slamming across the south like there in Alabama. A system bringing blinding rains and high winds, some 40 million people in the threat zone tonight. Sam Champion with the latest.
Tonight, over 200 reports of severe weather across the country, with millions of people from Colorado to Virginia bracing for possibly more overnight.
That, folks, right there. That's it.
Since Friday, 7 reported tornadoes in 4 different states. These clouds swirling and spinning in Alabama, just miles from where an EF2 tornado demolished these mobile homes in Cullman County. Winds up to 130 miles per hour, launching furniture yards away. Residents salvaging whatever they can from the wreckage. Storm clouds swallowing daylight over Georgia, and lightning erupting over I-40 in Oklahoma. Torrential rain downing trees and damaging homes near Nashville.
Oh, wow.
Meanwhile, Wheeler, Texas, also soaked, along with wind gusts of up to 80 miles an hour, making it impossible to even see out this windshield. And in Virginia, residents are bracing for another round of storms after flooding in Richmond on Friday.
And Sam Champion is joining us right now. And Sam, there are more storms and watches in effect at this hour.
Whit, they're popping up right as we go on the air tonight. Let's show you on the map and show everyone as well. These brand new storm watches are out from anywhere Colorado into Kansas. Oklahoma's involved, and now Oklahoma City is in that one, to Virginia and North Carolina. Here's why we think more storms will develop tonight. The National Weather Service put out that yellow zone. Hot Springs, Memphis, Chattanooga. These storms could develop after the heating of the day and run all night long. Now, tomorrow, this is an area that we carefully have to watch. Dodge City, Wichita, Woodward. This could be some very strong winds, and yes, a few tornadoes, but the winds could be in excess of 90 miles an hour, so that could be a very damaging area of storms tomorrow. With
and tens of millions of people all in the zone as well.
Sir.
All right, Sam, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Meantime, now to that deadly wrong-way crash in South Carolina. The state lawmaker who just made headlines in a big congressional primary win with President Trump's support severely injured. She was a passenger in that wreck. ABC's Ariel Reshef with the latest.
Savannah Highway, traffic accident entrapment.
Congressional candidate Katie Arrington traveling to Hilton Head on a dark highway overnight. Her friend Jacqueline Goff at the wheel when their vehicle was struck by a car traveling the wrong way. That driver, 69-year-old Helen White, died at the scene. Arrington and Goff rushed to the hospital with serious injuries.
Katie sustained a fracture in her back and several broken ribs. as well as injuries that required Katie to undergo major surgery.
The catastrophic crash happening just 2 weeks after the 47-year-old Republican defeated Representative Mark Sanford in the 1st District primary.
Like I said in the beginning, this isn't a me, this is a we moment right now.
Her victory fueled by President Trump's personal endorsement.
We are the party of President Donald J. Trump.
Tonight, the president tweeting his prayers and condolences, and the outpouring of support transcending politics. Arrington's Democratic opponent, Joe Cunningham, announcing he's suspending all campaign activities until further notice.
And Witt, a spokesperson for Arrington, said she will likely be hospitalized for at least 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the investigation into that crash is ongoing. Witt.
Ariel Reshef, thank you. To Pittsburgh now, and the growing outrage over a 17-year-old shot and killed while running from police. The new images just coming in as Antoine Rose was rushed to the hospital. The frantic attempts to save him. The woman capturing that video speaking out for the first time tonight. ABC's Kenneth Moten with the details.
Tonight, a community drenched in anger over the police killing of 17-year-old Antoine Rose. Hundreds of protesters marched through Pittsburgh in a downpour after the 17-year-old was shot 3 times during a traffic stop.
Police are not judge and jury. They are to enforce the law.
It was Tuesday night when Antoine tried to run away from East Pittsburgh police officer Michael Rosfeld. The officer firing. Antoine's family says he was hit in the back.
The outrage of these demonstrators only intensified in the past 24 hours after the district attorney revealed new details about the case.
The county prosecutor says Antoine was not armed but had an empty 9mm gun clip in his front pocket. Police say the car he was riding in was involved in a drive-by shooting moments earlier, and they found 2 guns inside the vehicle. But for the first time, the woman who recorded the deadly traffic stop is speaking out.
It was like he was taking target practice out on this young man's back. He didn't flinch. He didn't say stop running. He didn't say anything.
The 23-year-old asked us not to show her face. She described the officer's actions after he fired.
I looked at the officer, and his head was down. He had his hands over his head, and by the way he looked, I just knew that I could tell that he knew he messed up.
That young woman also recorded paramedics trying to save Antoine, but it was too late.
And Kenneth Moten joins us live from Pittsburgh now. And Kenneth, you spent quite some time interviewing that witness whose video is now a crucial part of the investigation.
It is, Witt, and she knows it. That young woman says it's overwhelming, and she became emotional as she recounted Antoine Rose's final moments. Witt.
All right, Kenneth Moten in Pittsburgh for us. Thank you. Overseas now to the twin blasts rocking Africa. That deadly explosion sparking panic in Ethiopia's capital city, striking a rally for the country's new prime minister. He wasn't hurt. And this explosion inside a stadium in Zimbabwe, the president addressing a campaign rally, narrowly escaping harm. State media calling it an assassination attempt. Several people reported hurt, including the vice president. And back here at home now, we are learning much more about a devastating house explosion in Ohio. It's not the first time this has happened there. The new concern for investigators and homeowners tonight. Here's ABC's Adrian Banker.
Body cam video captures the moments after this huge Columbus, Ohio house explosion. Authorities suspect scavengers trying to steal metal might be to blame.
How many people are in this house?
2 people here are critically injured. Extreme damage, even deaths occurring in similar home explosions across the country. This one less than 2 weeks ago in Cleveland, where a group of scrappers trespassing on the property are being investigated for causing the blast. Scrappers can inadvertently create these catastrophic situations by causing gas leaks when stealing their materials.
Gas meters, hot water heaters, and furnaces, are removed from these structures, and they'll continue to go into these structures until they have taken every piece of metal out of it that they could possibly get. Anything that they can make money off of.
Scrapping is regulated and legal business in most states. The danger is in thieves going into empty buildings where the gas has not been turned off. Here, the Columbus Gas Company kept the lines live to complete renovation work. Officials tell us these scrappers are causing thousands of dollars in damage for only a few cents a pound. And crews warn that anytime you smell gas, it's an emergency situation and to call 911. Witt.
Adrian Banker, thank you. And there's much more ahead on World News Tonight. This Saturday, the massive wildfire in the West at this hour. Families on alert. The crude oil derailment. More than 36 tankers overturning right into nearby floodwaters. Tonight, the cleanup and the contamination world.